Hi, welcome to Math 7. I'm Miss Sepe. I'm your student's math teacher. I put a pronunciation guide here for folks who weren't quite sure how to pronounce my name. It's Sepe. We're going to be talking today a little bit about, I'll introduce myself. We'll talk a little bit about the course description. We'll be going over grading policies, course expectations, our classroom environment, and finally, how to get into contact with me if you have any questions throughout the year. So let's get started. Just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Connecticut. I've lived in California in the Bay Area for 8 years. I've been teaching for 4 years. This is my fifth year in the classroom, and I have a Master's of Arts in Education. I enjoy music. I enjoy cooking. I really like to run, and also I spend a lot of time with my dogs. Featured here in the corner, I have a little dog named Charlie, a big dog named Mercury, both mysterious mixed breeds, and hopefully we will not be hearing them bark during the presentation, but I guess we'll find out. So here we go with the course description. So Math 7 is a rigorous grade level course that's designed to provide students with a strong mathematical foundation to meet 7th grade math standards. Our areas of focus this year will be focusing on proportional relationships. We'll be measuring circles. We'll be working with percentages. We'll be working with probability and sampling. We'll be doing some work with rational numbers, and yes, that does mean fractions and decimals. We'll be working with equations and inequalities, and finally, we'll be working with angles, triangles, and prisms. So that's kind of the scope of the year. Here's our grading policy, and this is standard across the math department at SPA this year. We have 80% coming from the end of the unit assessments. All of the checkpoints on Summit need to be green or yellow in order for the end of the unit assessment to be considered eligible for grading by your teacher. 70% or higher is considered a passing grade for those end of unit assessments. And we'll be talking more about checkpoints in just a second. 10% of your students' grade comes from portfolio problems. These are application-based problems that accompany each unit, so there's one per unit. Your student actually has a choice of different portfolio problems for each unit. They just need to select the one that they want to do and submit that before the end of the unit. These are self-paced. We'll talk more about that in just a second as well. The final 10% comes from the power focus areas. Those are concepts and content knowledge that students need to master. To pass a power focus area, your student actually needs to get an 8 out of 10 questions correct. Students get as many attempts as they need to pass. All of these assignments and grades are currently located on the Summit Learning Platform. So a little bit more about the weekly checkpoints and homework. We have class twice a week. We meet on Mondays and Thursdays. We also have some asynchronous assignments that students should be completing on Wednesday. Since they don't have a live class, they should have assignments from every single class and something to complete on Wednesday. So Mondays, following our live class, there is a cool down that needs to be completed independently after class on Summit. Those are due by 6 p.m. same day. Those checkpoints cooldowns are short. They're often 1 to 2 questions, should be taking roughly around 10 minutes for the students to complete, and some students might complete them even faster than that. On Wednesdays, we have an asynchronous assignment, meaning they should work on it independently, posted on Summit due by 4 p.m. Typically, that asynchronous assignment will be a longer exercise set related to what we've been working on for the week. And finally, on Thursday after class, they have another cool down that's to be completed after class on Summit, due by 6 p.m. The way that the checkpoints are graded, they don't affect your student's grade. They're given a green, yellow, or a red. A green means that they're complete. A yellow means that they have some major things to review, so they might have completed it, but maybe with some major misconceptions. So in that case, I would leave feedback, and the student has the opportunity to go back and fix whatever was going on and resubmit. They can resubmit it if they want to try to get a green on that checkpoint. A red indicates either that they didn't turn it in, that it's overdue, or that they really haven't completed it at all. So that's if a student completes, only a tiny portion of it, or really not enough to justify giving a grade on it. That would be a red checkpoint. And red checkpoints do need to be completed and fixed. As I mentioned before, in order to grade their end of the unit assessments, they need to have yellow and green on all of their checkpoints in order to move forward and take the end of the unit assessment. Okay, we also have power focus areas and portfolio problems. Those were mentioned a bit earlier. These are self-paced assignments. Every student has one power focus area and one portfolio problem per unit that's due by the end of the unit. They should be working on these during their independent study time and any day of the week, but especially on Wednesdays during their asynchronous days. Each of these, the power focus areas and the portfolio problems, make up 10% of their final grade. So altogether, that's 20% of their final grade. Again, these are self-paced, but if you find that your student is having trouble or falling behind on them, their advisor is a great person to help keep them on track with these power focus areas and portfolio problems and to help them set goals to make sure that they're achieving success and moving forward on these as the year continues on. We have a weekly agenda. It's located on Google Classroom. It's a great place for students to keep track of assignments. So we use Google Classroom to set reminders regarding assignments. They shouldn't be submitting any work on Google Classroom. The work would all be submitted and graded on Summit, but this is a great place to check and just look in and see what's due for the week, when is it due. There's a section on Google Classroom called Weekly Agenda. Students can click right on it and see everything that we're doing for that week. Let's go over some of the course materials and platforms. As mentioned, we're using Summit Learning. All of the graded work will be on or linked through Summit. We do use assessments, which are digital math worksheets, so that students can submit their answers digitally to these exercise sets. So sometimes their Summit assignment will be a link to an assessment activity, but again, everything would be submitted via Summit and feedback would be provided via Summit. All of our classes, our live classes, will be on Zoom. We do use Google Classroom where we post lesson notes, materials, and recorded class videos. Those go on our Google Classroom. So in addition to finding the weekly agendas, students can find anything that they missed during the live class, including a recording of the live class. Students definitely need a notebook for math notes and work that they do to solve problems. Also, for the focus areas, students should be taking notes when they're going through the objectives on their focus areas, so a notebook is essential for this class. We also use a platform called Desmos and sometimes a platform called Pear Deck that are used for math problems in class for students to submit work during our live lessons. These require students to just log in with their Google emails that they already use for class. They're pretty quick and easy to get into. We've already been using them, and I do track student participation in our Desmos activities. So if you're ever curious about whether your student is completing work in class or you're feeling concerned that they might not be, please feel free to contact me. I can check the spreadsheet and tell you very quickly and easily if your student is submitting work during class. This work is not graded, so it doesn't affect their grade, but of course it is important for them to participate and show effort during class, as it does help to prepare them to complete all of their checkpoints and to pass their end of the unit assessment. So just a little bit about our classroom community. Our classroom community will be built upon mutual respect and communication. We need to aspire to create not just a safe space, but a brave space. A space in which we are unafraid to make mistakes because that is where we grow. The struggle, that part of learning where you might sometimes reach that brink of frustration or excitement, is where deep learning occurs. We will strive to challenge ourselves and to rise to that challenge, knowing that with the right support, we are fully capable of accomplishing anything that we put our minds to. Education is power. Couple more things. If your student ever needs to be absent from class, or if they simply need to review things that we went over in class, on Google Classroom, as I mentioned, they can find the class notes or Google Slides from that day's class. They can also find the recorded class Zoom video, so they can actually watch what we did in class. And they can find other lesson materials like that Desmos activity that I talked about earlier. I'll provide a link to that as well. So they will have access to the class activities that we did that day. Those are uploaded on Google Classroom the same day. Usually within an hour or two of the class, they're posted on Google Classroom. Those can be found on Google Classroom under a heading called Zoom Recordings. And they are arranged by date. We do have tutoring available on Wednesdays with our instructional assistant, Ms. Vargas. Tutoring for 7th grade math is from 11 to 11:30 with Ms. Vargas on Wednesdays. I'm happy to provide the link to any parents or students who want to participate in the tutoring. So feel free to send me an email if you would like this information. I'll also be starting small tutoring groups on Mondays after school around 3:30 for students who are either performing at a level that they feel like they need some extra support, or if we've identified students based on their MAP data that might need a little extra support. So we'll be starting some tutoring groups with myself as well pretty soon on Mondays. More information about that to come. Finally, here's my contact information. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email is my first name dot my last name, victoria.sepe@cocospa.org. If you prefer a phone call, you can go ahead and call the school at 925-235-1130. You can then choose the staff member that you want to speak to, and you can leave a message, and I will listen to your voicemail and I'll call you back. My office hours are Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3:30 p.m. to 4:20 p.m. if your student or you would like to book an appointment. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. My contact information is here, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of your students this year. Thank you.